Hello and welcome to the Curiosity and Consciousness podcast. The intention of this podcast is to help you to open your mind, get curious about yourself and raise your consciousness levels. Through these conversations, we hope that you will go on an inward journey to discover the truth of who you are and become the conscious creator of your life. I am your host, Karen Maloney, and I work as an inside-out coach, mentor and guide, helping women to revolutionize their internal chatter and create a life they love. Listen to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or whatever platform you choose. And be sure to like, subscribe, review, and share the podcast. Check out my website as well, soulpowerlight.com, for more info. Hello. So I've just recorded today's episode and actually I dropped a lot more F-bombs than I had imagined during this recording and cursed more than usual. So if you do have young ears around you, just giving you a pre-warning that you might want to come back and listen to it another time. Enjoy. Hello everybody. How are you all doing? It's me, Karen Maloney, and thanks as always for tuning in for another episode. This week it is me, myself and I. And just to let you know, there may be a little bit of background noise throughout this episode. I am in a bit of a noisy place at the moment and I have tried to soundproof as best I can. So if you do hear some traffic or noise or that, just try and ignore it. So just a quick reminder again for anyone who wishes to join my mailing list, you can find a link to join through my Instagram. My handle is @soulpowerlight, and if you click the link in the bio, it is top of the list there. So today's share, I really feel, is nearly like a manifesto to anyone who is not in relationship at the moment, but is looking. And it really is that remembrance again and doing that work to really connect to your own truth and value and worth and love before engaging in a relationship. This is super important, and I'll share personal events that unfolded over the last couple of weeks and information I learned that really just hit this home again, and it lit a fire in my belly and made me so passionate about this work, because it really is everything. It really lends to a totally different life for ourselves and totally different relationships for ourselves when we do the inner work, when we really stabilize and really value and know our worth and love ourselves. Because when we don't, we accept less than behavior. We accept shitty behavior. We accept shitty acts. We accept less than we truly deserve. And this is nothing about ego and superiority and feeling better than. This is connecting to our true innate worth, which all of us are born worthy. Worthy is innate to all of us. We are all individually worthy exactly as we are because of the fact that we even exist. We're worthy because we are. But again, we often don't realize this, and we build our value and worth based off of things outside of us, based off of where we live, what job we work, how much we earn, whether we're in relationship or not, what kind of car we have, what kind of house we have, the clothes we wear, all these kind of things. And yes, they can make us feel good, but again, they're transitory. They're not sustainable to only build our worth and our sense of value in that way. Again, I've used the analogy of a house before. And when we are building in these external things, it's like we're building and decorating the walls of our house. But what good are walls without a solid foundation? And the foundation is that inner knowing and value and worth for ourselves first and foremost, and then we can build and decorate our walls as well. But without that solid foundation, those are not secure structures. Well, they're never secure anyway, it's always changing. So this is nearly like a manifesto, a plead with you, whoever you are, who is listening, to really get to know yourself, to really appreciate, love, value yourself and know your worth, so you don't have to go around accepting less than in whatever aspect of your life. You have that belief and faith and courage in yourself to take responsibility and to leave situations if you need to, or change things if you need to. And because I'm a woman, I'm speaking about the feminine energy per se. So anyone who identifies with embodying the feminine energy more, everyone has masculine and feminine energy, but I am speaking to those who embody more the feminine, which is the receiving. And I want you to step into that power of true value, of being a queen, of being positively claimed and speaking your truth and sticking to your boundaries. So let me set the scene a little bit. So I've alluded to and shared little bits before about a breakup that I went through a couple of years ago, where my boyfriend at the time sent me an email to break up with me and disappeared. That was 2016. I've never heard from him since. And we were living abroad in another country. He wasn't Irish. And I also lost everything I owned at that time as well, because he said he would have my stuff shipped back to Ireland and nothing ever arrived. So that was a shitty event by every account. I took that event and I really went with it. And I took responsibility for myself, and I started doing the inner work. I started walking my talk because I had read all the books, personal development, self-help, and I didn't really take any action on any of the steps or the things that they were sharing. But this was my time to put everything into practice. And I had an awakening during that time as well, a real just heightened moment of clarity and realization where I just saw everything from a totally different perspective. So that was shit by every account. And he was clearly a wounded person. And he was so wrapped up in subconscious pain. And I'm not making excuses for him, because it was absolutely shitty behavior. No questions about that. But the thing about it is, I had to take responsibility for my part in it. And my part in it was that I wasn't truly connected, loving, and knowing my own value and worth. That I actually accepted and allowed myself to be on the receiving end of this shitty behavior. Because believe me, there were so many times I wanted to walk where I was like, this is fucking shit, I deserve better. But I didn't have the courage or the faith or the belief in myself to actually do it. I lived in hope that things would change, that they go back to how they were, and he would be nicer and treat me better and be pleasant and cordial. Like towards the end, it was so difficult. I felt like I was walking on eggshells. I couldn't even have a conversation because he would shut it down. He'd be so moody, like an absolute compulsive liar. Like I could not say anything. He would completely and utterly twist it around, make me feel like the crazy one or as making things up. Like it was total emotional abuse. But again, people can act and behave however they want. They can choose to be that type of a person if they wish, and they have to live with that and the misery, or maybe they get a kick out of it. But the thing about it is, I or any other person does not have to be on the receiving end of it. And that is the self-work. Because if I was the person I am now, and the faith and belief and my own inner knowing of enoughness and worthiness and value, which is totally just an inner feeling experience that you get through doing the inner work, looking at your subconscious beliefs, shifting them, and literally elevating your vibration. If it was today and I was the person I was, there is absolutely no way in the world I would accept that. I would walk, and I've gone through many difficult situations since then that has shown me time and time again that I cannot put any other person in this world above the love I have for myself. And that's what I did. I was giving him more love than I was given to myself. And that does not work, ever. We have to have our own back 1,000,000% all of the time. So that was that. That was his shitty behavior. That was the crappy ending, the traumatic ending that I've healed from and grown from and risen from, because I just took it and did the work. And I'm like, fuck no. Absolutely no single person, I don't care what they do not have the power to control me and how I feel. They do not have the power to make me miserable for the rest of my life. I was like, fuck no, I'm not going into victimhood. I'm healing from the emotional pain, but I am not allowing this event or this shitty person to determine the rest of my life. I am taking back my power. I am taking hold of my life, and I'm fucking living my life. That's what I've been doing. But the reason I'm sharing this episode as well, and the message I want to bring, is because, and this is like out of a fucking soap opera or something, but literally years later, I think it was in 2018, this girl randomly messaged me on DM because I had shared some blog posts and things like that about the experience. And she said, she was just like, thank you, I really resonate, and blah, blah, blah. And it's great to see that, you can change and heal from these things, or something to that effect. But then she said, I even believe that we're talking about the same person. And I was just like, I didn't believe it for a second. I was like, there's just no way in the world. And I wrote back to her and I was like, I don't think I'm certainly not unique in this experience, and I'm sorry you went through something similar, and wish you best in your healing journey. I really don't know how it could be the same person. Anyway, we had a couple of messages over and back, and we discovered that yes, it was the same person. And actually there was an overlap, that he had started seeing her and going out with her while he was still with me. So total shyster on every level. So then anyway, recently in the last couple of weeks, I have a mailing list, and again, this girl had been following my mailing list. I'd never done anything with it, but I've started sending emails now, and she was following my mailing list. So she just reached out and was just like, hey, it's so great to see what you're doing. I love what you share, and it's so great to see how you've grown in your journey, blah, blah, just basic things. And anyway, we had a few messages over and back again, and it transpires that he broke up with her in a similar way, said he had gone back to his home country, blah, 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 all this bullshit. But I had asked, had she ever heard from him again? And she said that seemingly, because they were in the country that we had moved to, so she said he came back to where he had been living, where I was living with him, to supposedly clear out his apartment because he had gone back to his home country. So she said they'd met for lunch one day, and that was it. But then she said randomly, 6 months later, she saw him on the street in the same city, in the same country where they had been living, where we had moved to. So then she indirectly heard through people that he had actually never left. He was still working there, he was still living there, and actually when he did go home to his home country that time for a couple of months, he actually got married, and now he was living with his wife in the apartment that I was with him with, that we went to see, that we chose to live in together, that he also brought this other girl to. He was now living there with his wife. And I mean, you just can't write this shit. It's literally like a telenovela. And when I heard that again, my first reaction was to get really fucking angry at myself for a moment. And I was like, oh my God, Karen, how could you be so stupid? How could you not just see his bullshit and accept this and just lie down and be like a doormat and just allow him to be a fucking asshole? And but then I caught myself again, that container of compassion, because again, I'm not the same person. I was a different person back then. I didn't have the faith and belief and value in and of myself that I have now, that I've worked on the last couple of years. But in one way, a funny thing is that I thought I loved myself. I thought I believed in myself. But now I know from having done the work, I thought it on a cognitive level, but actually I hadn't gone within, because any subconscious belief that is contrary to that will trump a conscious thought every single time. And the clue is in the name. It's subconscious. We are oblivious to it. So I thought I had all these things and I was this self-loving person, but actually in the true sense of the word, I actually really wasn't. And I know in one sense as well, me sharing this, it may seem like I'm calling him a shitty person, but actually the truth of it is he's not a shitty person, but definitely has some shitty behaviors. But again, this is years ago. I don't know what he's like since. But I can see now that people only act out when they're in pain. And again, we're so oblivious to our own pain sometimes. And when we don't take responsibility and do the healing, we project it out on others. So in one sense as well, through my own inner healing and seeing what was blind to me, I have such huge compassion for him. That's not to say I want to be BFFs with him or anything, but I don't believe he is a bad person. But this is what happens when we don't take responsibility for ourselves and our own healing and wounding and trauma that we may carry, that again is subconscious, that we're not aware of for the most part. And I believe this is true for every human being, no matter what. Them as a person at their core are not bad. None of us are. It's through environment, it's through experiences that we learn to be certain ways, but nobody is born that way. So again, it's just a huge level of compassion as well, but it is acknowledging and talking about shitty behavior, and this is why I do what I do, so it doesn't repeat, or I'm not at the receiving end of it anymore. So it's like that, when we know better, we do better. But at the time, I was doing the best that I could and the best that I thought. So, after those 30 seconds or so, I caught myself in that container of compassion, and then it just lit a fucking fire inside of me. It burns with passion of why I do my work, and it really, that's why I'm calling this like a manifesto. It's like, to all my women out there whoever embodies the feminine energy, to do this work, to find your worth and value, because when we do this work, we rise above this fucking shitty behavior. So these kinds of people, they can go around in their circles, but if they don't have anyone to receive them and receive their shitty behavior, they'll either have to live like that for the rest of their lives, or they'll have to do something about it and start doing some inner work. But I'm calling on the feminine energy to let's all work together to get more respect for ourselves, to get more love for ourselves. So we're not at the receiving end of this fucking shitty behavior. We all deserve so much better. We all deserve to be adored, be cherished, be valued, be able to speak our truth, to have healthy boundaries, to know what we want, to be intentional. And if someone or something is not meeting that, that's okay, but we don't have to fucking wait around for these people to change. We remove ourselves, we keep doing our work, and it's like the cream always rises to the top. We will get there. We will find our person who is also doing that work, who then you can have another totally different, divine, sacred kind of union that you could never have had with any of these other people. And that's my ask, and that's my work, is really for you to come back to yourself, to realize how incredible you are. You are incredible. You as a human being are absolutely divinely perfect and incredible. It does not matter what you have on the outside. It is all about getting to that level of self-love from within. Just a level of self-love, loving every single cell and fiber of your being, no matter what is happening in your life. This is the work we're all being called to do. And this is the work I'm being called to do. And this is the work I wish and desire to guide you on, because it is so important. From when I look back to the person I was to the person I am now, they're like worlds apart in some respects. And I've never felt so good in my life. Internally, nothing has to be happening on the outside. I just feel so good being me. And you know what? We only came here to be ourselves. We cannot be anyone else, no matter how much we exhaust ourselves, no matter how much we try, no matter how much we push ourselves, no matter how much we hustle, no matter how much we exert ourselves, no matter how much we compare. We cannot be anyone else but ourselves. And that's perfect. We were created by Source, God, universe, whatever you want to call it. We are all elements of Source. And Source makes no mistakes. God makes no mistakes. You are who you are meant to be. And you are here to be the full embodiment and full expression of yourself. And the only way to get to that is through our own inner work and coming back to our true love for ourselves. Clearing out these limiting beliefs that we hold against ourselves. These crazy stories that we tell ourselves. These thinkings that we have to accept less than what we truly desire, less than what truly lights us up and sets our heart on fire. We don't need to do that. Our desires are ours. They're God-given. We are totally worthy of them. But sometimes when we're not connected to our own true worth and value inside, we dumb down our desires. We actually think, oh, that's not possible for me. And we give up. And we settle for something less than actually what we truly want because we believe we can't get our desires. But if you have a desire in your heart, it is yours and it is done. It is totally possible. The work is to shift your own beliefs around you having that desire. What is holding you back from that desire? That's the work. That's the work. It's not dumbing down your desire to fit in and to fall in line with whatever is showing up. It's to do the inner work to know that your desire is possible and to reach your desire. And it's funny as well for women, sometimes we feel we need to dumb down when it comes to relationship. Like, we can't be ourselves. We can't be too much. I can't say that. But the truth is, no, you need to be yourself. You need to say whatever is on your heart. And if the other person doesn't like it, if they leave, then great. Thank them. Yes, you have the emotional pain to move through, but they are clearly not your person. We don't have to be chasing anymore. We don't have to be begging. We don't have to be on our knees hoping someone will choose us. We have to choose ourselves. And then that person who is right for us, who sees that we are choosing ourselves, will then also wish to choose us. But it starts with us. And this is my desire and my calling through my work. Because I've done it, I've gone first. And believe me, how it feels inside feels so good to get to this level. Again, cream rises to the top. I want you to be the cream. I want you to be the cream in your life and be intentional about your life. And then when you are the cream in your life, you will meet cream as well. Cream rises to the top. There are many other people, men, that masculine energy doing this work as well, because they want something better for themselves. They don't want to be on the receiving end of shitty behavior either. And these are dysfunctional relationships that we fall into because we are not connected to our own true value and worth and love in the first place. So then we go outside of that looking for someone else to give us that. Whereas it's the cliche, we have to fill ourselves up first. We have to know ourselves first. We have to know our own value first and our worth, and know what we want, and be intentional about our life and be intentional about relationships, and not just fall into whatever shows up. Because clearly, from my example, what shows up sometimes is really crap. And believe me, I thought it was the best thing that ever happened to me. He was one of these who, now I know the term, love bomb me. He was totally different to anyone else I'd ever met. And to be honest, when I look back, he totally and utterly bamboozled me with this sense of love. But I was so insecure and not connected to my own true worth and value that I fell for it. I thought it was it. I thought it was the one. Whereas, no, I was just the perfect empath for that situation. So this is why this inner work is so vital. It's not about putting anyone else on a pedestal. We need to put ourselves on our pedestal. We need to know our own true value and what we desire and what we are looking for and how we want to be treated. We need to be clear on that beforehand, and healthy boundaries, and know what's a no-go for us. So if something shows up, we can make decisions based off our heart and not get bamboozled and just caught into it and feeling like you just need to continue with it and go with it. And in this case, in this example, in the story I'm sharing, it's about relationship, but doing the inner work and getting intentional and clear on what you want and sticking to your desires and working on your value is applicable to every aspect of our lives. Because the fact is, as you change and shift and rise, you will meet your perfect match. You will meet your person, in this case in relation to relationships, but you will meet what it is that you're meant to meet when you do the inner work. You rise, you grow, you evolve, you expand, you elevate, and you feel so much better, and life literally gets so much better. And again, this is the self-responsibility piece. And it is work. I remember years ago, after that breakup, a couple of years later, when I was well on this journey, I remember saying to a friend, I was talking to her and I was like, you know what? I have to take responsibility for my part as well. And she got so mad at me. She was like, no, you don't. It's all his fault. He's a this, he's a that, he's a whatever. And yeah, those behaviors were true. But what I was talking about is I need to take responsibility for my part, as in I was not loving and connected to my true value and worth, that I received that. I allowed it. I allowed it to go on for much longer than I truly wanted to, but I didn't have the courage to break up because I had the fear that what if I don't get another chance? So that's my responsibility. My responsibility is always to me. My responsibility is looking after me, my well-being, my mental, emotional, physical, spiritual well-being. That is my responsibility. It is not anyone else's. But again, when we are not stable within ourselves, when we are not connected to the truth of who we are and really valuing ourselves, like I shared, we accept shitty, less than behavior. We accept breadcrumbs. We accept things that we don't truly desire, but we live in hope that it will change. And I'm like, no, don't live in hope. If it's not working, do what you need to do, whether that's leaving or just start doing the inner work and see what happens, because people can evolve together. But in my case, he was definitely not open to that. So that's when I should have got the hell out of there. But you live and learn. And like that, I don't regret it. It has been the greatest catalyst for my learning. And it's been the catalyst for me truly coming home to me, for me truly stepping into my own inner power and worth and value, and knowing that I always have a choice, and knowing that it is my life. And if something is not lighting me up and making me feel good, and if I'm doing the work and someone else or something else is not doing it also, and it's not shifting, then it is my responsibility to do whatever it takes. So that's my share for this week. And really, I invite you and I encourage you to, if you are not in relationship at the moment and looking for that relationship, and if you are a woman or you do embody that feminine energy, I really invite you to connect and do this work to know your value and truth, and get really intentional and take this golden opportunity and this time of not being in relationship to really get serious and know what it is that you want, know your desires and know your boundaries, so you don't end up in shitty situations. And again, if you do, it's all okay. It's all learning. It's all growth. If you take the lessons and take that baton and roll with it and actually do the work, it is our greatest, again, catalyst for growth. So yeah, when I got that message again, it really just set a fire in my belly, and not an angry fire, a passionate fire of helping people to get to this level of inner self-love, inner self-belief, inner self-worth, inner self-value, inner self-faith. And that's why I call myself an inside out coach, because it all starts from there. And I don't want anyone to experience and go through what I went through, in whatever form that may show up. So this is the most important work a person can do for themselves, because when you do that, life can be and is very different. And actually, I was listening to a podcast, even more so. And ladies, or that feminine energy, whoever embodies it, let me tell you as well, this work is actually even more vital than ever. Because I was listening to a podcast the last day saying that now there are more women than men in the dating scene. So the men actually have so much options. And that's why I suppose dating apps and this casual sex and just changing relationships like it's a pair of clothes has become so the norm, because men have so much more choice maybe. But also, don't get me wrong, I am absolutely not blaming men or the masculine energy in this, because it takes two to tango, as they say. But again, I'm sharing this with the intention of the feminine coming into honoring and valuing herself again, or that feminine energy, and embracing it again, and not feeling like you have to chase anyone down or be in that desperate pick-me mode, but stand in your true value and worth and inner knowing and love and trust and faith and belief that you are actually worthy to be in divine relationship, because you are worthy. So that's why as well it's calling on this feminine energy to rise, because it's actually going to do a service to our men as well, to help them to evolve as well. And again, I mean the masculine energy, because by not doing it, we're doing a disservice to ourselves and we're doing a disservice to them. Someone has to go first. Someone has to evolve. Someone has to elevate. And then like that, the cream will rise to the top. The masculine energy that is ready to rise will rise as well. And there'll be a whole generation of new types of relationships. And again, this is not ego-based. This is true heart-centered core living. So this truly is the work and the power and the beauty of connecting to our true selves and core and heart and knowing and value, because then we just don't have to go through these experiences. Yes, we'll have other challenges, I'm sure, because there's always challenges, but again, they're to help us evolve. They're showing us, no, not this way, another way. This is not working, try something else. You don't keep banging your head off that same wall. You get the message, go, okay, this is clearly not working. What do I need to change within myself? What belief do I need to shift within myself? How do I need to grow, learn, evolve within myself more? Because it's always with us. Inside first, outside follows. That is the work. That is the way to evolve, to elevate, to completely change your life. Inside first, outside follows. Let's stop the cycles of going around trying to control and change everything on the outside. Inside first, outside follows. So that is my share today. I hope you got something from it. And again, it's that message of rising, growing, evolving, loving ourselves and knowing we are enough and worthy exactly as we are, just by the sheer fact that we are alive. We made it here to have this human experience. So, as always, if you have any questions, if you wish to dive deeper, please reach out to me, pop me an email. You can go onto my website, soulpowerlight.com, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Bye. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you get notified every time a new show is released. Get more information on this week's guest as well on my website, www.soulpowerlight.com.